Salam and welcome back to the Muslim Girl Diaries. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to congratulate all of you on the arrival of this beautiful and blessed month of Ramadan. Ramadan Mubarak to you and to all of your families. Today in our podcast, we will be discussing the important topic of teaching our children who God really is. There is something very subtle that shapes a child's entire relationship with faith. You see, it's not just what we teach them to do, it's also how we teach them to see God. Because long before children even understand theology, they form an emotional image of who God really is. Is he someone who is constantly angry? Or is he someone who's deeply merciful? Is he someone waiting to punish? Or someone always ready to welcome them back? Now, many of us grew up hearing phrases like, God is mad at you. God will punish you if you don't pray. Be careful, you're making God angry. And often parents don't say these things with bad intentions, not at all. We do mean well. They say them out of fear. Why? Because they want their children to take faith very seriously. But you see, there is an important question that we have to ask. What kind of relationship with God are we building in their hearts? Because when children are taught to approach worship primarily through fear, something very subtle begins to happen. You see, they may pray, but not out of love. They may obey, but not out of connection. They might also comply, but internally, they begin to associate God with anxiety instead of peace. And this is absolutely not how faith was meant to feel. The Holy Quran repeatedly introduces God to us first and foremost as the most merciful. Before commands, before warnings, before accountability. Before all of these things always comes mercy. And that's not accidental. It's actually very intentional. Because you see, the foundation of a believer's relationship with God is meant to be hope, love, and trust. Not just fear alone. We are always taught that the best form of worship is not the worship of someone who fears punishment, nor the worship of someone who seeks only reward, but the worship of someone who turns to God out of love and recognition. So this teaches us something very powerful, and that is that faith is meant to draw the heart towards God, not push it away. And when children grow up believing that God is constantly angry with them, they begin to distance themselves from him. And that is absolutely not what we want. And it's not because they don't believe, but because they feel unworthy of coming close. So they may think, well, if I already disappointed God, why should I even try again? Or they may think, if I missed prayer, I'm already in big trouble. They might also think, well, if God is angry with me, what's the point of returning? And that becomes very, very dangerous. And slowly, without realizing it, fear turns into guilt. And then guilt turns into avoidance. But Islam teaches the opposite. It teaches that God loves when his servants return again and again and again. We're also taught that nothing is more beloved to God than a servant who turns back after slipping. Because returning always shows humility. Returning shows trust. Returning shows that the heart still believes in mercy. And this is the message children always need to hear and to feel. They need to know that prayer is not a punishment. Prayer is not a burden, and it's not something they do to avoid anger. All that prayer is meant to be is a meeting, a refuge, a place of calm. The Holy Quran describes prayer as something that brings tranquility to the heart. It's absolutely not meant to feel like pressure at all. It is meant to feel like relief. So instead of saying, God is mad at you for not praying, we can shift the message to something deeper and truer, which is God loves when you pray because it brings you closer to him. Prayer helps your heart feel peaceful. Or you can say, when you miss a prayer, you can always try again. God is always ready to welcome you back. Because this is the reality of divine mercy. God does not close the door when we fall short. He keeps it open so we can always return. But if that voice is merciful, then forever and ever they will always carry hope. Now, you have to understand that this does not mean we remove accountability, because Islam always teaches balance. There is an awareness of responsibility, but it's always paired with compassion. Children should understand that prayer matters, but they should also understand that God's love does not disappear when they struggle. They'll take that with them later on in life, because faith that is rooted in love, that grows stronger with time. Faith that is rooted only in fear often collapses when the pressure disappears. And what we ultimately want for our children is not just outward obedience, but an inward relationship with God that lasts their entire lives. A relationship where they turn to Him when they're hurting, when they're confused, when they feel like they're lost. And they do that not because they're afraid of Him, but because they trust Him. May God help us teach our children who He truly is, the most merciful, the most compassionate, the one who always welcomes His servants back. Thank you for listening.